The tunnels were filled with celebration. Operation Tapen had succeeded beyond their hopes. All 5 teams had returned with minimal losses, bringing valuable information and freed prisoners. But in the command room, the mood was serious. Ju, Taehyun, Hyunjin, Yeonji, and Dohyun studied the data they had stolen from the Krivac systems. "It's worse than we thought," Yeonji said, pointing to charts on the screen. "They plan to complete their extraction within 2 weeks. Then they'll leave Earth. But the damage to our oceans would be permanent." "Can we stop them?" Ju asked. "Maybe," Hyunjin said. "The data shows that all their extraction systems are controlled from one place, their main ship, the one that hovers over the old government building in Seoul." "The command ship," Taehyun nodded. "Heavily guarded, almost impossible to reach." "Almost," Ju repeated, "but not completely." The success of Operation Tapen had changed things. The Krivac were angry. Their ships flew lower now, searching for the humans who had dared to attack them. They doubled their guards at all facilities. But they also made mistakes. In their anger, they became careless. "They're using all communication channels now," Hyunjin reported the next day. "They're not being careful anymore. We can hear almost everything they say." "And they're rushing their extraction," Yeonji added. "Working faster means making errors. Their systems are strained." For 3 days, they planned their next move. This would not be like Operation Tapen with its 5 small targets. This would be one big strike at the heart of the Krivac operation. On the 4th day, their chance came. The Krivac commander called all his top officers to the main ship for a meeting. They would discuss how to deal with the human resistance. "This is our opportunity," Ju told her team. "They'll all be in one place." Dohyun had already found a way. An old service tunnel ran directly under the government building where the main ship was now docked. It wasn't on any maps. The Krivac didn't know it existed. The plan was simple but dangerous. A small team would enter through the tunnel. They would plant a much larger version of their sound device directly under the meeting room. When activated, it would incapacitate every Krivac leader at once. Then, using the confusion, they would access the ship's main controls and shut down the extraction systems. Jiwoo led the team herself. With her were Taehyun, Hyunjin, and 3 others, the best fighters and technicians they had. The tunnel was narrow and dark. They moved slowly, careful not to make noise. Above them, through meters of concrete, they could sense the presence of the aliens who had taken their world. "Here," Dohyun's voice said through their earpieces. He was guiding them from the base using old building plans. "This is directly beneath their meeting chamber." Hyunjin set up the sound device. It was much bigger than the ones they had used before, built to affect the entire ship. "Ready when you are," she whispered. Jiwoo checked the time. The meeting would have started 5 minutes ago. All the Krivac leaders would be present. "Activated," she ordered. The device hummed to life. Like before, humans couldn't hear its output, but they knew the Krivac would be feeling its effects. "Now we move," Jiwoo said. They climbed up through an old maintenance shaft, emerging in a service corridor of the building. As expected, the few Krivac guards they encountered were already on the floor, clutching their heads in pain. They found their way to the ship's access port. Inside, the scene was chaos. Krivac officers stumbled about, unable to fight, unable to think through the pain of the sound waves. Hyunjin rushed to the main control systems. "Cover me," she said as she began working on the alien technology. "This will take a few minutes." Jiwoo and the others formed a protective circle around her, but no attackers came. The sound weapon had done its job perfectly. "Done," Hyunjin finally called out. "I shut down all extraction systems and locked them out. They can't restart without codes that I just deleted." They made their way back to the tunnels, amazed at how easy it had been in the end. The mighty Krivac, defeated by sound waves they couldn't hear coming. 3 days later, the Krivac ships began to leave. Without the compound they needed, Without their leadership structure intact, they had no choice. One by one, the huge vessels rose into the sky and disappeared. Zhu stood on a hillside with her team, watching the last ship go. "They'll be back someday," Taeyin said, "or others like them. And we'll be ready," Zhu replied. "Earth isn't defenseless anymore." She looked down at the city below, where people were already emerging from hiding places and work camps. The long work of rebuilding would begin now. "Their vultures no longer swarm our sky," she said softly. The attack began at dawn. 5 teams, 5 targets, 1 moment. Zhu checked her watch as her team reached the position beneath the water processing plant. Above them, through 2 meters of concrete and metal, the Krivac worked, unaware of the humans beneath their feet. "Sound devices ready," whispered one of her team members. Zhu nodded and pressed her radio. "All teams in position." 4 voices answered, one after another. "Team Buzan ready. Team Daejeon ready. Team Incheon ready. Team Guangzhou ready." "On my mark," Zhu said quietly. 3, 2, 1, now." She pressed the button on her sound device. It made no noise that human ears could hear, but she knew it was working. The device vibrated slightly, sending waves of sound up through the floor and into the Krivac facility. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then they heard it. The sound of things falling, of strange voices crying out in pain, of confusion. "Move in," Zhu ordered. Her team rushed to the access point they had prepared, a circular section of the floor above them, cut nearly through during the night. 2 people pushed it up and aside, creating a hole directly into the alien facility. Zhu went in first, gun ready. The scene inside was chaos. Krivac soldiers lay on the floor, their bird-like hands covering what looked like ears on the sides of their heads. Others stumbled around, disoriented, and in pain. "Keep the devices running," Zhu ordered as her team entered. "Find the control room." They moved quickly through the facility. The sound devices affected only the Krivac, not humans. This gave them a huge advantage. When they did meet aliens who could still fight, they were slow and confused. "This way," called one of her team, pointing to signs in the alien language that Yunji had taught them to recognize. Control systems. The control room was large, filled with strange machines. Only 2 Krivac were there, both unable to fight due to the sound waves. Zhu's team secured them quickly. "Place Yunji's trackers," Zhu ordered, taking out the small discs, "on every main console." As they worked, Zhu's radio crackled. "Team Buzan here. We've secured the command center. Taking data now." Then another, "Team Daejeon. Landing field under our control. We've disabled 5 of their ships." "Team Incheon. Research station secured. We found human prisoners. Freeing them now." "Team Guangzhou. Heavy resistance here. Need backup." Zhu made quick decisions. "Incheon, once your prisoners are safe, send half your team to help Guangzhou. Everyone else, you have 15 minutes to complete your missions and get out." In the control room, Zhu found what they needed, screens showing the Krivac's water processing system. The aliens were extracting enormous amounts of ocean water, removing specific compounds, and then dumping the rest back. "Take pictures of everything," she ordered. "Download whatever data you can. Yunji needs to see this." One of her team worked on a console, copying alien data to a human device. "They're doing something new," he reported. "Look at these readings. They've increased extraction by 500% in the last week." Zhu studied the screens. The new Krivac ships they had seen arriving were connected to this system. They were filling their huge tanks with the processed compound. "They're getting ready to leave," she realized. "They're taking what they want and planning to go." "Isn't that good?" someone asked. "If they leave Earth." "Not like this," Zhu said grimly. "These readings show they're planning to take most of our ocean's vital compounds. It would destroy Earth's ecosystems. They don't care what happens to our planet after they're gone." A timer beeped on her watch. Time to move out. plant the explosives. They set small charges on key machines, not enough to destroy the facility, but enough to slow down the aliens' work. As they prepared to leave, alarms began to sound. Through the windows, they could see Krivak ships moving in the sky. "Our 15 minutes are up," Ju said. "Back to the tunnels. Now." They dropped back through their entry hole just as the first explosives detonated. The sound of alien cries and human cheers mixed as Operation Tapen struck its first successful blow against the invaders. The last night before Operation Tapen was quiet in the underground base. People spoke in whispers. Some cleaned weapons. Others said goodbye to friends who would go to different targets. Many tried to sleep but couldn't. Ju sat alone in a small room that had become her office. On her desk was a faded photo of her family. She hadn't seen them since the invasion. She didn't know if they were alive or dead. Like many humans, they might be in work camps, forced to serve the Krivak. Someone knocked softly on her door. "Come in," she said. It was Do-yeon. The old professor looked tired but determined. "The final tunnel is complete," he reported. "All 5 target locations are ready." "Thank you," Ju said. "Your work has made this possible." Do-yeon nodded and turned to leave, then stopped. "Captain Kim, if I may ask, how did you keep going? When everything fell apart, when it seemed hopeless, how did you find the strength?" Ju thought for a moment. "I remembered what we're fighting for. Not just to survive, but to live free again. To take back our world." "A world the Krivak see as just a resource," Do-yeon said sadly. "That's their weakness," Ju replied. "They don't understand what this planet means to us. They don't understand what humans will do to protect their home." After Do-yeon left, Hyunjin arrived with the sound devices for Ju's team. "I made some improvements," she said, showing Ju how they worked. "These will hit the Krivak harder than our tests showed. The frequency is perfect now. Are you sure they'll work through the floors?" Ju asked. "Positive. Sound waves travel better through solid materials than through air," Hyunjin explained. "The Krivak won't know what hit them." Later, Tae-yeon came with final reports from their scouts. The news wasn't good. "The Krivak are bringing in more ships," he said, showing Ju images taken from hiding places on the surface. "At least 10 new vessels in the last day." "Why?" Ju asked. "Do they know we're planning something?" "I don't think so," Tae-yeon said. "Our radio monitors picked up their communications. They're preparing for a final extraction phase. Whatever that means, it can't be good for Earth." Ju studied the images. The new Krivak ships were different, larger, with huge tanks attached to their sides. "We need to find out what they're planning," she said. "This makes tomorrow even more important." As midnight approached, Ju called together all the team leaders for a final meeting. They gathered in the main room, faces serious and focused. "Tomorrow will not be easy," she told them. "The Krivak are strong. They have better weapons. They control the skies. But we have something they don't." "What's that?" asked a young woman who would lead the team to Daejin. "Knowledge of our world," Ju said, "and the will to fight for it. The Krivak came here as hunters, thinking we were easy prey. Tomorrow, we show them that humans are not so easily defeated." She looked at each face around her. Some she had known before the invasion. Tae-yeon, Hyunjin, Yeonji. Others she had met in the months since. All were now part of the snake, the resistance that had grown beneath the aliens' feet. "Whatever happens tomorrow," she continued, "remember that this is just the beginning. Win or lose, Operation Tapen will show the Krivak that Earth is not theirs to take." After the meeting, Yeonji found Ju preparing her equipment. "I have something for you," she said, handing Ju a small device. "It's a scanner. It will help you find the main control systems in the water plant. If you can place these," she held up tiny discs, "on their main computers, I can track what they're doing with our water, maybe even disrupt it." Ju took the items carefully. "I'll make sure they get placed." As the base finally grew quiet, with most people trying to rest before the mission, Ju made one last round. She checked on each team, making sure everyone knew their roles, that all equipment was ready. Above them, Krivak ships moved across the night sky like giant birds of prey. But beneath the ground, humanity's resistance waited, ready to strike. Operation Tapin, Ju said, giving their plan a name. The leaders of the resistance gathered around a large table in the main underground base. Maps and diagrams covered every inch of the surface. "Why Tapin?" asked someone from the back of the room. "It's a type of snake," Taeyun explained. "One of the deadliest in the world. It strikes fast and without warning." Ju pointed to 5 spots on the map. Each one marked a major Krivak facility. The water processing plant in Seoul, the command center in Busan, the landing field in Daejeon, and 2 research stations in smaller cities. "We hit all 5 at once," she said, "not to destroy them. We don't have that kind of power yet, but to show them we can hurt them, to learn more about how they fight, and to take back some of what they've stolen from us." Hyunjin stepped forward, holding what looked like a large speaker with strange attachments. "This is what we'll use," she said. Dr. Song discovered that the Krivak can't stand certain sound frequencies. These devices create those sounds, strong enough to hurt them, maybe even knock them out, but not strong enough to be heard from far away. She set the device on the table. "We place these directly under their facilities. The sound travels up through the floor. They won't know what hit them. And while they're confused," Taeyun added, "small teams go in, take what we need, and get out. Quick strikes. No big battles yet." Doyeon unrolled detailed diagrams of the underground pathways. "The tunnels to all 5 targets are nearly ready. My teams will finish them in 10 days. Ju nodded. "Then we have 10 days to prepare everything else." For the next week, the underground base buzzed with activity. People trained for their roles in the operation. Engineers built more of the sound devices. Scouts brought back information about Krivak movements on the surface. 6 days before the operation, Ju found Yoonji in her lab, looking worried. "What's wrong?" Ju asked. Yoonji pointed to readings on her screen. "The Krivak are processing more water than before. Much more. They're stepping up their extraction of the compound they need." "What does that mean for Earth?" "It means they're taking too much, too fast," Yoonji said. "The oceans have a natural balance. If they keep this up, they'll damage entire ecosystems. Water cycles will change. Weather patterns will shift. How long until we see serious effects?" Ju asked. "Months, not years," Yoonji replied. "They don't care about Earth's future. They just want what they came for." This news made their mission even more urgent. Ju called an emergency meeting with her leadership team. "We need to adjust the plan," she said. "The water processing plant needs to be our main target now. We need to slow down their extraction." Taeyun studied the maps. "It's their best defended facility. Getting in won't be easy." "That's why I'll lead that team myself," Ju said. 3 days before the operation, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of resistance fighters in Japan made contact through the radio network. They had captured a Krivak communication device. "We can listen to their orders," Hyunjin said excitedly after testing the device. "Not all of them. Their main channels are still secure. But we can hear their patrol schedules, their supply movements." This new information helped them refine their plan. They would know when shifts change, when guards were fewest. The night before Operation Tapin, Ju couldn't sleep. She walked through the quiet tunnels, checking on preparations. In one room, people were painting their faces with dark colors to blend into shadows. In another, Hyunjin made final adjustments to the sound devices. She found Taeyun studying maps one last time. "Can we really do this?" she asked him quietly. He looked up. 5 simultaneous strikes against a technologically superior enemy, with limited weapons and people who were civilians just months ago. He smiled slightly. It's crazy. But yes, we can do it. How can you be so sure? Because they think they've already won, Taeyun said. They watch the skies, not the ground. And because we're fighting for our home. Jumu nodded and looked at the final plans for Operation Taeban. Tomorrow, the snake would strike. 3 months passed. The world above changed. The Krivak built tall structures that reached into the clouds. They set up camps where they kept humans who worked for them. They took control of cities, farms, and water sources. But beneath the surface, another world grew. Jumu walked through a tunnel that hadn't existed a month ago. The walls were smooth, lined with lights powered by hidden generators. People moved back and forth, carrying supplies, weapons, and messages. The snake has grown, Taeyun said, walking beside her. He pointed to a map on the wall showing a web of red lines spreading under Seoul. Each line was a tunnel. Each dot was a room or base. How many people now? Ju asked. Almost 500 in this section alone, Taeyun replied. And we're in contact with groups in Busan, Daejeon, and Gwangju. The radio network is working. They entered a large room carved from the earth. It had been a natural cave, but Doyun's machines had made it bigger. Now it served as their main base. Hyunjin sat at a workbench, surrounded by parts from Krivak technology and human machines. She was changing one of Doyun's tunnelers, adding new parts to its front end. Is it working? Ju asked. Hyunjin looked up and smiled. Better than expected. This one doesn't just dig tunnels anymore. She patted the machine. Now it can cut through the metal in Krivak buildings too. Silent and strong. In another corner, Yoonji worked with a team of scientists. They had set up a lab with whatever equipment they could save or build. On their tables were pieces of Krivak technology and samples of strange materials. We found something interesting, Yoonji said when Ju approached. She held up a clear container with blue-green liquid inside. This is what they're taking from our oceans. They process our seawater to get this substance. What is it? Ju asked. A compound that doesn't exist naturally on their world, Yoonji explained. They need it to survive. Their bodies can't make it themselves. So they came here to mine it, Taeyun said. They see Earth as a resource. And humans as pests, Yoonji added sadly. Do-hyun entered the room, covered in dirt from working in a new tunnel. Despite the hard work, his eyes were bright with excitement. The western tunnel is complete, he announced. We now have direct access under the main Krivak water processing plant. A cheer went up from the people in the room. It was their first major success. Show me, Ju said. Do-hyun led her through newer tunnels to a section that went deep under the city. At the end was a small room with a ceiling of metal, the floor of the Krivak facility above. We can hear them working, Do-hyun whispered, pointing to the ceiling. But they can't hear us. Ju placed her hand on the cool metal. Just meters away, the aliens who had taken her world were working, unaware that humans were right beneath them. Perfect, she said. Now we need to put sensors here. Learn their patterns. See when they're most vulnerable. Already done, said a voice behind her. A young woman stepped forward with a tablet showing readings from above. We've been monitoring for 3 days. They change shifts every 12 hours. The plant is least guarded during the change. Ju nodded, impressed. The resistance was learning, adapting, becoming stronger. What had started as a desperate idea was now a real force. Back at the main base, Ju called together her leadership team. Taehyun, Hyunjin, Yoonji, and Do-hyun. We're ready for the next step, she said. The snake is strong enough now. It's time to strike. She spread out a map showing Krivak facilities across Korea. Not just one target. 5. At the same time, we'll show them that humans aren't defeated. We'll need more weapons, Taehyun said. And more tunnels, added Do-hyun. And a way to hit them where it really hurts, Yoonji said, looking at her research. Ju nodded at each point. We have 2 weeks to prepare. The Krivak think they own Earth now. They fly above us like they've won. She pressed her finger on the map, right under the main alien base. But our snake is ready to bite. It took 3 days for the Baekdu to return to Earth. They came in low, using clouds as cover, their engines silent. The ship landed in a forest near what was once Seoul. The city looked different now. Huge Krivak structures stood among the buildings. Their ships hung in the sky like dark birds. Alien soldiers patrolled the streets. "Stay close," Ju told her small team as they left the hidden ship. They wore simple clothes, not uniforms. They carried only small weapons and supplies. Taehyun pointed to a map on his old-style paper notepad. Dr. Song's lab should be 5 kilometers in that direction. They moved carefully through the woods, avoiding roads and open spaces. Twice they had to hide as Krivak patrol ships flew overhead. They moved like they owned the place. Kunjin whispered as they watched a group of the aliens examine a small stream. "They think they do," Ju replied. The lab was underground, hidden beneath an old university building. When they reached it, they found the entrance sealed with thick metal doors. Ju knocked in a pattern. 3 quick taps, pause, 2 more. After a long moment, a hidden camera extended from the wall. Then the door opened just enough to let them slip inside. "You made it," Dr. Song said, embracing Ju. She looked tired but alive. "I wasn't sure if my message reached you." "It did," Ju said. "You said you had an idea." Yoonji led them deeper into the lab. The place was bigger than it looked from outside, with long tunnels connecting different rooms. "I'm not the only one here," she explained. "Meet Professor Do-yeon Choi." A thin man with messy gray hair stood up from a workbench. Around him were strange machines with drill-like fronts. "Captain Kim," he said, bowing slightly. "I've heard about you." "Professor Choi is a geologist," Yoonji explained. "He's been working on underground mapping and tunneling technology for years." "For subway systems," Do-yeon added. "But it works for other things too." He pressed a button on one of his machines. It hummed to life, its front part spinning slowly. "My tunnelers can cut through rock without making noise or vibration. The Krivak can't detect them." Jumu looked at the machine with new interest. "How far can they dig?" "As far as we need," Do-yeon said proudly. "I've already connected this lab to 3 others across the city. We're building a network." Taehyun nodded slowly, understanding. "A network beneath their feet." "Exactly," Yoonji said. "And I've discovered something important about the Krivak." She led them to another room where samples of alien technology sat on tables. "They have good eyes and good ears, but they feel very little vibration through their feet. It's their biology. They evolved to fly, not to walk. They don't notice what happens underground." "And there's more," she continued, showing them data on a screen. "They can't handle certain sounds. Low-frequency vibrations hurt them badly. It disrupts their nervous system." Ju looked at her team, at Taehyun's tactical mind working, at Hyunjin's engineer eyes studying the tunneling machines, at Yoonji's scientific determination, at Do-yeon's quiet pride in his work. "So we build tunnels," she said slowly. "We move underground where they can't see us. We connect survivors. We learn their weaknesses. And then we strike from below," Taehyun finished. Do-yeon spread out a map of Seoul. "I have contacts at other universities. People I trust. They have equipment we can use, places we can hide. I can adapt these tunnelers," Hyunjin said, walking around one of the machines. "Make them faster, maybe even add weapons." Ju felt something she hadn't felt since the invasion began. Hope. "The Krivak think they've won because they control the skies," she said. "They watch us from above like vultures, but they don't watch what's beneath them." She placed her hand on the tunneling machine. "This is how we fight back. This is our snake in the ground." "What do you need from us?" Do-yeon asked. Ju stood straight, once again the captain she was trained to be. "Everything. Your tunnels, your knowledge, your courage." We're going to build the biggest underground network this world has ever seen. Outside, the Krivak ships circled in the sky, their shadows dark on the ground. But beneath that ground, the first seeds of humanity's resistance were taking root. They never made it to the Krivak ship. Their plan didn't matter anymore. The Krivak made their move first. Jiwoo woke to alarms blaring through the Baekdu. The clock read 3:17 am. She rushed to the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. "Report," she shouted as she entered. Taehyun stood at the main console, his face lit by red emergency lights. "It's happening everywhere, Captain. The Krivak ships just changed position. All of them, at the same time." On the main screen, Jiwoo saw the feed from Earth's defense network. The 7 Krivak ships that had been in stable positions were now moving. They spread out, taking positions above major cities around the world. "Get me Earth Command," Jiwoo ordered. The communications officer shook her head. "I can't, Captain. All channels are down." "How is that possible?" Jiwoo asked. Hyunjin rushed in, her hair a mess, eyes wide. "It's the tech they gave us. The Krivak devices, they all activated some kind of virus. Our systems are failing worldwide." Outside the ship's windows, Jiwoo could see the nearest Krivak vessel. It was changing. Parts of it were unfolding, stretching out like giant wings. It no longer looked like a ship, but like an enormous bird of prey, hanging in the sky. "They're over every major city," Taehyun said, pointing to the map. "Seoul, New York, London, Beijing, Moscow." "Weapons status?" Jiwoo asked. "Online," Taehyun replied. "The Baekdu uses our own systems, not their tech. We're one of the few ships still fully operational." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "Target the nearest Krivak ship and..." A bright flash filled the bridge as the Krivak fired first. 3 Earth defense ships exploded in silence, their burning parts falling toward the planet below. "Evasive action," Jiwoo shouted. "All power to shields." The Baekdu shook as they pushed the engines hard, dodging another blast from the alien ship. "We need to warn people," Jiwoo said. "How?" Hyunjin asked. "Communications are down." Jiwoo thought fast. "Not all of them. Auxiliary channels, old radio frequencies. They wouldn't have thought to block those." She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message on all emergency bands. Tell everyone to stay away from Krivak technology. Tell them." She paused. "Tell them this is an invasion." Through the viewport, Jiwoo could see more Krivak ships arriving. Dozens of them, smaller than the first 7 but just as deadly. They looked like vultures circling dying prey. "They're landing troops," Taehyun reported, watching the sensor data. "Small groups, hitting key locations, power plants, water treatment facilities, military bases." "Where did all these ships come from?" Hyunjin asked. "They must have been hiding behind the moon or in the outer system," Jiwoo said, waiting for the signal. The ship rocked again as a near miss grazed their shields. "We can't win this fight," Taehyun said. "Not right now." Jiwoo knew he was right. Earth had been caught completely off guard. Their defenses were down. Their communication was cut off. The Krivak had planned this perfectly. "Set course for the dark side of the moon," she ordered. "Maximum stealth." "We're retreating?" someone asked. "No," Jiwoo said firmly. "We're surviving. So we can fight back." As the Baekdu slipped away from Earth, Jiwoo watched the Krivak ships swarm around her home planet. From space, they really did look like vultures circling a corpse, their wing-like extensions blocking out the sun in some places. Her small tablet buzzed. Somehow, a message had gotten through from Dr. Inji-song. "Made it to my lab. Going underground. They're after water. Not just any water. Something in our oceans. Meet me if you can. I have an idea." Jiwoo looked at her crew, the scared but determined faces of Taehyun, Hyunjin, and the others. They were not Earth's strongest force, but they were what Earth had left. The Krivak think they've won, she said. They're hunters who attack from above. But they don't know Earth. They don't know humans. She clenched her fist. And they don't know what waits beneath their feet. 6 months passed. The Krivak ships became a normal sight in Earth's skies. They brought gifts of technology that amazed even the smartest human scientists. They set up trade routes between Earth and their home system. They spoke of friendship and shared future. But Ju Kim did not trust them. "You worry too much," said General Lee during their weekly call. "The Krivak have been nothing but helpful." "With respect, sir, that's what bothers me," Ju said. "No one gives so much and asks for so little." The Krivak had given Earth new energy systems, medical devices, and faster engines. All they wanted in return was permission to study Earth's oceans and access to some mining rights in the outer solar system. It seemed like a good deal. Ju ended the call and walked to the engineering section of the Baekdu. She found Hyunjin Baek bent over one of the alien devices, her eyes narrowed in focus. Hyunjin was the ship's chief engineer, and Ju trusted her more than anyone except Taehyun. "Any progress?" Ju asked. Hyunjin looked up, pushing her glasses back on her nose. "Yes, but you won't like it." She turned the device over and pointed to a tiny part that glowed faintly. "I finally figured out what this does. It's not in any of the manuals the Krivak gave us. It's a tracker and a recorder. It's been watching us, listening to us." Ju felt her heart beat faster. "Are you sure?" "Very sure. And that's not all." Hyunjin pulled out 3 more alien devices from her drawer. "I checked these too. Same thing in all of them. Different shapes, hidden in different places, but all doing the same job." "They're spying on us," Ju said. "On everyone," Hyunjin corrected. "Every ship, every home, every office that has their technology." Ju thought for a moment. "Don't tell anyone else yet. Keep working. See what else you can find. I need to talk to someone." That evening, Ju and Taehyun met Dr. Yoonji Song at a small noodle shop in Seoul. The restaurant was old and had no modern technology, no place for hidden ears. Dr. Song was a xenobiologist who had been studying the Krivak. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "I got your message," Yoonji said after they ordered. "You said it was urgent." "We found spy devices in the Krivak technology," Ju said quietly. "We think they're in all of it." Yoonji did not look surprised. "That fits with what I've been seeing. The Krivak aren't what they seem." She pulled out an old-fashioned paper notebook and opened it. Inside were detailed drawings of Krivak biology. Their body structure tells a story. They evolved as hunters, apex predators on their world. See these muscle groups? They're built for sudden attacks, and their brain structure suggests they think as a group, like a flock or swarm. "Why does that matter?" Taehyun asked. "Because predators who hunt in groups need 3 things: coordination, patience, and a plan." Yoonji closed her notebook. "I think they're hunting us." Ju felt cold despite the hot soup that arrived at their table. But why wait? Why all the gifts and friendly talk? "Have you ever seen birds circle above dying animals in the desert?" Yoonji asked. "They wait until their prey is weak. The Krivak may be doing the same, weakening us by making us dependent on their technology. Technology that watches us, learns our weaknesses." "We need proof," Taehyun said. "No one will believe this without hard evidence." "I think I know where to look," Hyunjin said. She had joined them late, sliding into the booth silently. "The main Krivak ship has a secure section they've never let humans visit. They call it their cultural center. But the power readings from it are all wrong for that." "And how do you suggest we get in there?" Taehyun asked. Hyunjin smiled and pulled out a small device. "I've been studying their security systems. I think I can get us access, just long enough to see what they're hiding. If we're caught, it could start a war," Ju warned. "And if we do nothing," Yoonji said, looking up at the sky through the window, where a Krivak ship moved slowly like a dark cloud. We might lose everything. Ju nodded slowly. Tomorrow night, just the four of us. No one else can know. Above them, the alien ship cast its shadow across the city like a giant bird of prey, watching, waiting. The message came on a Tuesday. Captain Ju Kim was eating breakfast in the mess hall of the Baekdu, Earth's first true interstellar defense vessel, when the alert sounded. She didn't rush. In her 15 years with the Korean Space Force, she had learned that panic never helped. "Captain, to the bridge," said the calm voice over the speaker. Ju finished her bite of rice, wiped her mouth, and stood up. The other officers in the mess hall watched her with worried eyes. They all knew what the tone meant. Something had entered our solar system. On the bridge, Lieutenant Taehyun Park stood at his station, his back straight, and his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Report," Ju said. "Objects detected beyond Neptune's orbit, Captain. 7 large vessels, moving in formation. Not one of ours." Ju nodded and took her seat in the command chair. "Show me." The screen lit up with a view of deep space. At first, Ju saw nothing. Then the image zoomed in, and there they were, 7 dark shapes moving against the stars. They didn't look like any ships humans had built. Their shapes reminded Ju of birds with wide wings. "Have they sent any messages?" she asked. "No, Captain," said the communications officer. "But they're slowing down. Wake up the rest of the crew. Contact Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors." For 3 days, the alien ships moved closer, taking position just beyond the moon's orbit. Earth's other defense ships joined the Baekdu, forming a protective line. The world below held its breath. On the 4th day, the aliens spoke. "We are the Krivak," said a voice that sounded like wind through feathers. "We come in peace." World leaders gathered in an emergency meeting. Someone had to meet these aliens face to face. As commander of Earth's most advanced ship, Ju was the clear choice. "I don't like it," Taehyun said as they prepared the shuttle for the meeting. "They could have contacted us from further away. Why come so close first?" "Maybe their technology works differently," Ju said, checking her uniform in the mirror. She wanted to look her best for humanity's first meeting with aliens. "Or maybe they wanted to be in strike range," Taehyun muttered. Ju gave him a sharp look. "That's enough, Lieutenant. We represent Earth now. We show no fear." The meeting point was a small space station that orbited Earth. As Ju's shuttle approached, she saw another shuttle leaving one of the alien ships. It looked strange, almost alive, with surfaces that shifted color like a bird's feathers. Inside the station, Ju waited with a small team. The airlock opened and the aliens entered. They were tall, taller than any human, with slim bodies covered in something like feathers. Their heads had sharp features with large, dark eyes that reminded Ju of birds of prey. They moved with grace despite the station's artificial gravity. "I am Vrek, speaker for the Krivak," said the one in front. Its voice came from a small device at its throat. "We have traveled far to meet you. I am Captain Ju Kim of Earth. We welcome you to our solar system." The meeting lasted hours. The Krivak spoke of their home world, orbiting a distant star. They talked about trade, cultural exchange, and technology sharing. They seemed friendly, open. But as they talked, Ju noticed things. The way the aliens never sat down. The way they always kept at least one of their group watching the doors. The way they avoided certain questions about their technology. When the meeting ended, Taehyun helped Ju back onto their shuttle. "Well?" he asked once they were alone. Ju looked out the window at the alien ships. From this angle, they really did look like giant birds, like vultures circling high above. "Be polite," she said quietly. "Be friendly. But double the watch crews and run silent scans of their ships. Something isn't right." As the shuttle headed back to the Baekdu, Ju couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's first meeting with aliens wasn't a new beginning. It was a countdown.